I think you're going to play a little clip to begin with, right?
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide.
So, in my capacity as director of the True North Health Center for the last 35 years, I have had the chance to see a lot of people recover their health. I've also had patients over the years age out and die. And I can absolutely say with 100% confidence that all of you will die. The only remaining questions are when and how. And when you're going to die is largely determined by genetics and luck. But how you're going to die can be profoundly affected by the diet and lifestyle choices you make. Anthropologists tell us that there's been 109 billion modern humans born on this planet, and that there's about 7.7 billion, more or less, of us alive today. And there's only been 5 people that have been well documented to live past 117. So no matter how you live, the chances of you living beyond 117 right now are about 1 in 20 billion. We can say that the chances are probably better than that you'll live less than 117. In 1900, life expectancy was 47 years old, and today it's 78. What's interesting is for the first time ever in the last 3 years, life expectancy has actually started to drop. What's interesting to look at life expectancy data, though, is that if you were 65 years old in 1900, you could expect to live an additional 12 years on average. And today, it's 19, which is a 7-year increase. And if you're 85, you can expect to live 2 years longer than they did in 1900. Well, if life expectancy is up 31 years, but adults are only living a little longer than they did in 1900, where's the difference? Where is that 24-year difference? Well, it's explained by a reduction in infant mortality. Because you see, in 1900, 160 babies per 1,000 died, mostly from waterborne illnesses and other issues. Today, we only kill about 6 of our babies per 1,000. So for every child that doesn't die in infancy, you add 78 years to the curve, it shifts the curve to the right. And in fact, of the 31-year increase in life expectancy, 24 of that 31 years is due to a reduction in infant mortality. It's not because adults are living so much longer. It's because we're not killing our babies because we have better hygiene, especially water protection. Now, many people think the problem is we just need to spend more money on health care. But if you look at the amount of money we spend per person in the United States compared to our colleagues in Europe and other places, you find we're spending 2.5 times more money per person, but we're not living longer. Our life expectancy isn't longer, it's lower. And we're not living better. Our healthy life expectancy is not higher, it's lower. So life expectancy is the amount of time a person can expect to live if they were born today on average. And healthy life expectancy is how much of that time is going to be spent healthy, fully functional. And for most patients that I talk to, their biggest concern is healthy life expectancy. They recognize that the maximum lifespan has limitations in terms of how much you can impact it. But what they don't want to do is spend an average of 9.4 years debilitated or 17 years in poor health. They don't want to find themselves unable to talk or move, lying in some nursing home bed, waiting for people to come and change their diaper. And fortunately, that healthy life expectancy is the thing that you can have the most profound effect on. Right now, we spend most of our money on treating the leading causes of death, which are heart disease, cancer, and stroke, instead of spending our money on the actual causes of death, the reason why people get heart disease, cancer, and stroke, which includes smoking, drinking, and eating an animal-based, highly processed food diet. One of the most effective ways that you can cause yourself to have premature death and disability is to smoke. Smoking is fabulous because it works on virtually every organ system in the body. It's not just lung cancer that you get from smoking. In fact, it's interesting that 80% of smokers will never get lung cancer. Isn't that interesting? I mean, how dangerous can it be, right? It's because people get heart disease and die from heart attack and stroke. They don't live long enough to grow their tumors. If you could make smoking just a little bit more toxic and kill everybody from heart disease, perhaps they could advertise it as cancer safe. High blood pressure has now become epidemic and is a major contributing actual cause of death because of its impact on cardiovascular disease. Alcohol consumption, isn't that interesting? That alcohol consumption is a major actual cause of death, but if you read the newspapers, you'd think alcohol was some kind of health food. They'll tell you, oh, you know, red wine has resveratrol, a powerful antioxidant. Where does that resveratrol come from? Yeah, the skin of grapes. But you don't hear them telling people, well, eat a few grapes. They tell you that alcohol thins the blood and reduces your risk for a clotting stroke. Is that true? Yeah. Yeah, it acts like aspirin to thin the blood. It doesn't actually reduce your risk of dying because, you know, you increase your risk of hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding stroke. But if it's important that you die from a bleeding stroke rather than a clotting stroke, by all means, imbibe. Another actual cause of death is elevated cholesterol levels, in large part because it's a marker of how much animal food you eat. The more animal food you eat, the more at risk you become. Being overweight, major actual cause of death. Low fruit and vegetable intake. Interesting enough, just not eating enough fruits and vegetables, perhaps in part because of the 2,000 phytochemicals that are found in fruits and vegetables, is an actual cause of death, as is physical inactivity, illicit drugs, and unsafe sexual behaviors. So these are the reasons why people are getting heart disease, cancer, and stroke, but this is not where the primary focus necessarily has been put. The epidemic that you'll see in most of the people that you know is metabolic syndrome. If you have 3 or more of these factors, your waist circumference is over 35 inches if you're a woman or 40 inches a man, if you're have elevated triglycerides, if your blood pressure is elevated, if you have elevated blood sugar levels or a low HDL, if you have 3 or more of those, you have what's called metabolic syndrome. And if you have metabolic syndrome, you're at risk for a host of diseases listed here. And it's true, we are getting fatter as a country. In 1986, when I went into practice, there wasn't a single state in the United States that had over 14% obesity saturation. And today, every state has greater than that. In fact, many states are up there around 35% and climbing. And these numbers actually are underreported because these are self-reported weight measurements. And it turns out people lie. And they almost always lie underreporting, not overreporting for some reason. So 2/3 of people now are overweight or obese, even using conventional diagnostic standards. And what's of particular concern is a type of fat called visceral fat, which produces inflammatory markers and contributes to heart disease and cancer and diabetes and all kinds of other issues. One of those issues is diabetes. The incidence of diabetes is increasing geometrically. And what's interesting is that if you look at the correlation coefficients between increasing obesity and increasing diabetes, it's almost 1-to-1. It's almost as if there's some type of connection. So what we're doing about it as a society is trying to tell people to eat health food. Well, that's okay. I'll tell you what's on the slide. So health foods, you know what they are. Things like olive oil and red wine and dark chocolate and coffee and diet sodas and white meats and low-fat dairy products and dead Dr. Atkins diets, those kind of things. And health food, I don't think is the way to get healthy. I think we really should be talking about healthy foods. And healthy foods are fruits and vegetables and grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, a whole plant food, SOS-free diet. SOS, of course, is the international symbol of danger, and it also stands for salt, oil, and sugar, the chemicals added to food that make us fat, sick, and miserable.